This story starts with a scene of traditional Japanese execution. A samurai is going to behead a convict using his sharp katana. To everyone's surprise, katana breaks off against prisoner's neck. As we can see, condemned shinobi doesn't care if he lives or dies. Shinobi is a skilled mercenary who are hired to carry out missions that involve assassinations and covert operations. After a failed execution, Shinobi speaks with a girl who should document his story for a court. She is very interested in his case and especially in mysterious ninja skills such as different types of ninjutsu, which is a superhuman power and main fighting style used by Shinobi. This girl asks a prisoner to show his skills, but he rejects to do it. Next day, judge of the court prepares another type of execution. They are going to burn Shinobi alive. Neither a spear nor fire could do any harm to condemned ninja. This night, the girl visits him again to keep writing the story of his life. She gets to know that his parents were killed by Zenin of the clan. Zenin is the highest rank of ninja with greatest level of experience and skills. Prisoner explains that Shinobi doesn't have any dreams or great goals to achieve. They are trained to assassinate their targets without any doubt and blindly follow the orders. His own clan set him up because he wanted to abandon his role as a murderer and live a peaceful life with his wife. Next morning, the executioners use bulls to tear him apart. Shinobi managed to stop both animals with the slightest move of his feet. Embarrassed and angry, judge demands more bulls, but the girl asks him to let her do the job and speak to prisoner. In their conversation, condemned tells that he was the most skilled shinobi in the village. Zenin appreciated him very much and let Shinobi marry his daughter. Shinobi speaks about her like very naive but kind person. For Kunoichi, aka female ninja, her behavior was rare and not accepted well in the clan. Shinobi was tired of such life and asked Zenin for permission to leave clan forever. The head of clan approved this request, but gave Shinobi the last task, which was a trap. Shinobi gave up because he had realized that clan would have followed him even if he escaped. Same night, a samurai speaks to the girl who documents the story of prisoner. He's afraid that she communicates too much with such kind of person as a condemned. He says the real name of convict is Gabimaru the Hollow, and he is a monster who killed 20 samurais before he was captured. Samurai added that citizens of Iwagakure, which is the name of ninja village, drink an elixir of immortality to gain their supernatural powers. Next morning, another cruel execution awaits Gabimaru. The sneaky judge tries to burn him again, using an oil in this case, but it doesn't make any difference. Condemned remains unhurt and cannot understand why he's still fighting death. The judge is at a loss, but the girl reminds him about their agreement. They lead Gabimaru to his final execution. The smug judge maliciously announces that the girl who all this time questioned Gabimaru is not an inspector, but the executioner Yamada Samon Sagiri. Looking at executioner, Gabimaru realizes her real power, and driven by fear he managed to dodge her lightning strike. Sagiri asks Gabimaru what is his reason to live and guesses that the reason is love to his wife. These words make him to start a sword fight with Sagiri, but also awakens his memories. The hollow shinobi remembers a deep feeling of true love when the wife kissed him, and cruelty of Zenin to his own daughter who was not broken and kept being kind and friendly person. Gabimaru still cannot see the way out and is going to attack Sagiri again, but suddenly she offers him clemency. The shogun calls for death row convicts to compete in acquiring the elixir of life from mysterious island Shinsenku in exchange for a pardon for their past crimes. Furious judge sends his men to kill Gabimaru, who uses his ninjutsu called Ninpo the Hell's Flame to defeat all of them at once. Now he really understands that coming back for his wife is only thing that matters. Gabimaru accepts Sagiri's offer and both new companions head to Edo. Please enjoy the next episode of Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku. This story begins with a flashback of little girl Sagiri. She witnesses how her father, an executioner of Yamada clan, is going to behead a storyteller who is sentenced to death. The skill of her father is so high that the convict doesn't feel anything and even bows to the audience after being executed. Sagiri promises herself to reach his level of mastery. In the next scene, Sagiri is ready to carry out execution. She is praised by the magistrate's officials for a good performance, but with the mentioning that she is a woman. Sagiri accepts it, but feels the burden of the life she has taken. During the execution, Yamada Asaemon Aizen saw fear and doubt in her eyes. He reprimands Sagiri because such feelings will make the condemned suffer. That's not acceptable by skilled executioner. Despite telling Aizen that she will solve this inner problem, Sagiri feels an intense fear again after beheading her next convict, whose suffering she sees on the blade, and asks herself how to expel this terrible feeling from the heart to become as confident as her father. In the present, she places a mask on Gabimaru and thinks about him as a person whose life she could possibly take without any doubts, giving him peaceful death. At Edo, the death row criminals are gathered for a briefing with the shogun, Tokugawa Noriyoshi, and his representatives. Shogun is the title of the military commander of Japan during the period from 1185 to 1868. Shogun was nominally appointed by the emperor, but in fact he was a ruler of the country. Sagiri recognizes a few convicts using her register book. Gabimaru complains about the mask because he wants to see the shogun, but Sagiri refuses to remove it. A shogun's retainer explains to the convicts that everyone who returns back with elixir of life from island Shinsenku will get a pardon for their crimes. The crowd was inspired by this information, especially one of the worst criminals named Adachi Matagoro, who is going to continue killing without consequences as soon as he receives the pardon. Sagiri hears him laughing and wonders if she could kill such monster without hesitation. A beautiful kunoichi speaks to Gabimaru, expressing her disappointment with his appearance and condition. He calmly apologizes for this. Sagiri asks herself if Gabimaru, who looks harmless now, is as dangerous as the rumors say. After removing their masks, the criminals observe a samurai blooming with flowers. He is the only survivor of the 60 men who were sent on the last expedition. The convicts start complaining about this suicide mission. The retainer informs the condemned that they are allowed to leave any time, and one of the criminals tries to walk out. Aizen beheads him with one quick strike. The retainer explains that every participant of expedition will be monitored by a representative of the Yamada clan, and if this monitor dies during the mission, the convict will never leave the island. Gabimaru asks Sagiri if this was true, and she confirms it. Shogun gives an order to the retainer, who informs the convicts about the limited capacity of the ship and the number of Yamada clan representatives. Most of condemned are confused by what he meant, except of a red-haired bandit who kills a criminal next to him to prove that Shogun wants them to eliminate each other until only a certain number of convicts remains. This bandit gets rid of a terrible criminal Adachi Matagoro, saying that those who hesitate will die. The retainer even doesn't allow the criminals to untie their hands. That's also Shogun's idea. Speaking to himself, the retainer wonders what is the point of this carnage. Perfectly happy with such situation, Shogun enjoys this cruel and pointless battle, and is curious about who are elite criminals with special abilities. One of retainers informs him about them, the young bandit king who commands a whole village, the kunoichi, aka female ninja, who killed every defender of Sagiwa castle, the greatest swordsman, Blade Dragon, the giant who eats bears, and the living legend Gabimaru the Hollow, who doesn't take part in this slaughter. During the massacre, Aizen tells Sagiri that such expedition will be very dangerous for her, and she's not suited for the job of an executioner at all. He means that the warrior's daughter should live quietly in father's mansion. Sagiri calmly accepts his criticism, but responds that she didn't choose such life. In the memories from her childhood, we can see that violence and death center around everyone in the Yamada clan. In the present, Sagiri is attacked by 3 criminals, but she refuses the help of Aizen, and beheads them herself very fast. Right after this, Sagiri freezes, feeling her inner fear again. Hearing the voice of Gabimaru, she regains her composure. He wonders if there is another way to choose participants than let them eliminate each other. He states that unwillingness to kill another human being is natural. The retainer responds that he will lose a chance for a clemency and offers a deal to other criminals. If they manage to kill Gabimaru, they will get a place on the ship. Favoring this, a convict attacks Gabimaru with a stone. Condemned ninja tries to reason with aggressive guy, but after all has to fight back for his life. Gabimaru murders the criminals in a really horrible way. Looking at Gabimaru's demonic reflection, Sagiri recalls his words, and she realizes that she doesn't need the courage to execute people, but the resolve to carry the burden of the lives she has taken. Aizen notices Sagiri's tears and asks if she's okay with such mission. Sagiri states that she can handle this and kill Gabimaru if needed. The retainer stops a massacre and declares following names: King of Bandits Asa Chobei, Blade Dragon Tamiya Gantetsusai, Killer of 100 Keiyun the Ogre, Nurugai from Sanka, Assassin Monk Horubo, Shinobi aka Ninja Gabimaru, Courtesan and Cannibal Akaginu, Kunoichi Yuzuriha, Renegade Makiya Moro, and Giant Rokurota. Each of them will be paired with an Asaemon and sent to the Uncharted Island for the Elixir of Life. Please enjoy the next episode of Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku. This story begins with Gabimaru's flashback of his childhood. He witnesses how Zenin, aka Chief of Iwagakure, is attacked by his shinobi with various types of weapon, and demonstrates his immortality by surviving after infliction of terrible damage to his body. In the present, Gabimaru explains Sagiri that the Elixir of Life really exists, but he is not sure about this specific island. Sagiri enjoys the beautiful scenery, but Gabimaru finds the environment unnatural and dangerous. He frees his hands to be ready for anything. Sagiri doesn't accept such violation of the rules on this mission, and orders him to tie his hands again, or he will be executed immediately. Having no choice, Gabimaru agrees with Sagiri to do it, but suddenly he is hit by a heavy slingshot, which is thrown by one of the criminals, Warped Keiyun. A slingshot is a weapon consisting of a weight affixed to the end of a long chain. Keiyun rejoices, but he isn't satisfied with how easy it was to eliminate the living legend Gabimaru the Hollow. However, the unharmed shinobi is back on his feet and draws Sagiri's attention to Keiyun's untied hands. He is a condemned monk warrior who was obsessed with his collection of weapons. After telling the story of this criminal, Sagiri asks his monitor Yamada Asaemon Kisho about Keiyun. Pragmatic Kisho answers that he doesn't have time to argue with such trash as his assigned criminal, and will tie his hands on the way back. He also reprimands Sagiri for being extremely honest and following the rules. Meanwhile, Keiyun tells Gabimaru that the best way to accomplish the mission is eliminating the other criminals before searching for the elixir. He's going to test all of his weapons on the Hollow Shinobi. Gabimaru tries to reason with aggressive competitor, but after all has no choice but to defend himself. Kisho and Sagiri allow the criminals to fight each other, but she also demands that Shinobi bind his hands. Doing this, Gabimaru stands still and is attacked with different weapons. Shinobi uses a spear to lift the opponent in the air and tries to pierce him with one of his weapons. Having an armor attached to his body, Keiyun stands up and continues the fight, but Gabimaru manages to kill him using his weapons. Kisho is relieved of his duties because Keiyun is already dead, and there is no point to continue this mission. Sagiri asks Kisho to be careful on his way to the ship, but the experienced samurai explains that the criminals have already started to break the rules of this mission on both land and sea, because it doesn't matter for Shogun how the elixir of life will be acquired. Kisho offers to execute Gabimaru so Sagiri may come back to the ship as well. However, the fast shinobi prevents him from using his katana. Gabimaru doesn't want to fight, but find the elixir of immortality and return to his wife. Kisho tells him that there isn't much time for this task, because the shogun is going to contact Iwagakure for assistance. Kisho also informs Sagiri that the next head of Yamada clan will be determined on this mission and warns her to be careful with her criminal. Thinking about Kisho's words, she realizes the difficulty of understanding Gabimaru's nature and blocks his sword attack. Meanwhile, King of Bandits Chobei frees himself from assassin monk Horobo and quickly kills him. Akaginu tries to seduce her Asaemon Shion, but is executed for such assault. Kunoichi, aka female ninja Yuzuriha, and renegade Makiya Moro agree to cooperate, but after all, both of them are dead. Asaemon Aizen fights against his convict Rokurota, but he fails and is killed by the giant. In a flashback scene, the Zenin of Iwagakure who killed Gabimaru's parents tells the infant that he must put aside the emotions to avoid becoming weak. In the present, we can see a spectacular katana fight between Sagiri and Gabimaru. Sagiri looks tired and reminds Gabimaru that killing his monitor is a violation of this mission. He responds that the elixir of life should be found before plenty of shinobi from Iwagakure participate in this task. Gabimaru attacks Sagiri again, but she hesitates to execute him. Gabimaru also realizes that he could quickly eliminate this girl, but the memory of his wife stops him from making a final blow. In a flashback, Yui advises him that true strength is acceptance of emotions. But during one of his missions he understands that emotions could be his weakness. In the present, Gabimaru continues fighting Sagiri, and had very good opportunity to kill her, but he spared her life again. It's very hard to confront his feelings, but he remembers the nin's advice about strength and breaks Sagiri's blade. However, she uses her Excap bar to block his next attack. He confesses that he's sorry for Sagiri and offers her to surrender. Hearing this, Sagiri mocks the dreadful shinobi for his emotional nature. In the next scene, Sagiri is defeated, but Gabimaru becomes hesitant to kill her, because his wife's influence helps him to understand that his emotions are not a weakness but the greatest strength. Sagiri realizes that both of them are normal people and helps Gabimaru to accept his humanity. Meanwhile, the criminal Tamiya Gantetsusai and his Asaemon Fuchi find a lot of statues on the island. The criminal is stung by a human-faced butterfly and cuts off his left hand, which turns into bark. Seeing this, Fuchi is shocked, but Gantetsusai becomes excited because of various creatures who swarm around them. In the end of the story, Gabimaru prepares to face a strange six-armed fish monster himself. Please enjoy the next episode of Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku. This story begins with Tamiya Gantetsusai's flashback. Known as a Blade Dragon and unparalleled in 8 provinces, he was hired by a daimyo. Daimyo were powerful Japanese feudal lords who were subordinate to the shogun and ruled most of Japan from their hereditary land holdings. Being drunk, the daimyo offends Gantetsusai. He doubts that the Blade Dragon could actually kill a dragon. This makes the swordsman to lose his temper and slash a dragon decoration on the daimyo's gate. This was a story how he received the death sentence. In the present, Gantetsusai and Yamada Asaemon Fuchi have an interesting conversation. Young executioner doesn't understand his convict's violent nature. Gantetsusai doesn't regret his behavior and mocks Fuchi for making a living only by beheading criminals. Asaemon informs him that they also studied the human anatomy to produce medicine and test swords in Yamada clan. He draws his sword to show the criminals that he will not accept such disrespect. Blade Dragon frees his hands and asks Asaemon to stay out of his way on this mission. In the forest, Gantetsusai tells about his plan to eliminate the competition, because this will allow him more time for finding the elixir of life and give him a chance to engage in thrilling duels against the strongest competitors. Fuchi thinks to himself that this idea makes sense, but if it ends badly, the shogun may send out the next batch of stronger warriors. A giant monster appears from the distance. Both warriors look surprised, but Gantetsusai finds this situation very interesting. Meanwhile, Shinobi aka Ninja Gabimaru fights against a strange six-armed fish monster. He doesn't understand what kind of creature is this, and recalls the 5th lesson from Zenin of Iwagakure about not engaging an unknown enemy. Thinking about the best option to retreat, he is caught by the creature and receives a minor injury. Having no better plan, he offers Sagiri to flee. However, other monsters surround them and Sagiri wonders if such creatures are real. Gabimaru decides to stop thinking and kills the monsters using his ninjutsu called Ninpo Ascetic Blaze. Ninjutsu is a superhuman power and main fighting style used by shinobi. Gabimaru keeps fighting and realizes that it's the only way to get a pardon for his crimes. Sagiri looks at this massacre and realizes how everything has changed on this mission. She avoids an attack from a monster behind her and prepares to defend herself. Gabimaru eliminates the enemies in front of him, but notices Sagiri in danger and saves her to his own surprise. The fish monster tries to catch distracted shinobi with its tentacle, but suddenly is beheaded by another Asaemon. Kunoichi aka female ninja Yuzuriha is very impressed with how Gabimaru managed to kill all of the enemies. In a short flashback, Gabimaru's wife Yui learns him to give gratitude for help. After thanking Yuzuriha for saving him, Gabimaru asks about the intentions of his new rival. Kunoichi starts flirting with him and seductively offers a partnership. But Gabimaru is strong enough to resist her Kunoichi methods and pins her to the ground. Sagiri wonders why Yuzuriha has 2 Asaemons with her. Yamada Asaemon Genji explains that his assigned criminal Maki Amuro died when he was fooled by this woman. Genji decided to watch over this Kunoichi because she was too dangerous for only one Asaemon. However, Gabimaru and Sagiri realize that Genji fell for her tricks since women have always been his weakness. Her assigned monitor Yamada Asaemon Senta introduces himself, but Yuzuriha interrupts him. She tells that finding the elixir of life as quickly as possible is important, but they need a plan to escape the dangerous monsters that inhabit the island. Gabimaru gets permission from Sagiri to team up with Kunoichi and Asaemons. However, he still doesn't trust Yuzuriha and pins her again, but she uses a leg lock to trap him. She explains that the shogun grants a pardon only to one person. Kunoichi offers him to use each other until they find the elixir of life for the shogun. In exchange for his power, Yuzuriha offers Gabimaru very valuable information about creatures from this island. She killed the criminal Maki Amaro and used him as a bait to test the behavior of various local insects. Santa doubts that they are in real paradise, because the island's monsters and statues look like a strange mix of different religious traditions. Gabimaru wonders why Yuzuriha wants to return home so badly. She confesses that she became the kunoichi in order to get money for her little sister, who had an incurable disease. However, Gabimaru exposes her lies and discovers the truth, that she simply wants to stay alive. In a short flashback, we can see Moro blooming with flowers upon his death. It means that he was already dead when Yuzuriha killed him. In the present, Gabimaru agrees to cooperate with Yuzuriha and shows her that he has a wife. Beautiful Kunoichi stops Santa from sharing more information. Sagiri feels disappointed with herself and suddenly faints. In a flashback, Asaemon Aizen praises a new executioner Toma for demonstrating his outstanding sword skills. Being a younger brother of convict Asa Chobei, Toma is assigned to him as a monitor and visits him in jail. Toma tells Chobei about Shinsenkyo expedition and opportunity to get a pardon from the shogun. In the present, Toma and Chobei look at the monsters of the island. Chobei starts to fight them. His younger brother is impressed by Chobei's fast adaptation to any situation. Toma recalls their very difficult childhood. After the death of their parents, Chobei became the leader of the bandits, but he and Toma were trapped by the authorities. Chobei ordered his brother to leave and rescue him later. While killing one of the monsters, Chobei breaks his weapon and retreats with his brother. However, Toma is caught by the monster and Chobei leaves him behind, because he needs a new weapon to save him. Chobei is attacked by a monster who tells him that murder is a sin. Toma is terrified and begins to believe that they are in real hell. Remembering his father's execution as a ronin, Chobei furiously kills every monster. King of Bandits will not allow anyone to control him again. Meanwhile, Toma recalls Chobei's promise to guide and protect him. Having finished with the monsters, Chobei offers to find and drink the elixir of life for themselves. In the end of the story, Asaemon, who is assigned to the criminal Nurugai, beheads the monster. Pucci and Gantetsusai slay the giant monster and continue searching. Santa carries unconscious Sagiri to the next location. Please enjoy the next episode of Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku. This story begins with Sagiri's nightmare of her father, who looks disappointed with her. After waking up, she sees Asaemon Genji, who informs her that she was poisoned by the human-faced butterflies and lost consciousness. He also tells that they are safe in this cavern. Asaemon is a samurai who is responsible for execution of criminals and testing new swords for the shogun. Sagiri goes outside and is surprised to see Gabimaru preparing the dinner. Asaemon Santa mends her torn cloth and Yuzuriha lies down on a hammock. Sagiri wonders why they spend the precious time on cooking instead of looking for the elixir of life. Gabimaru answers that he had reservations. Santa would like to discuss what they know about the island while eating the meal. Yuzuriha is eager to have a proper meal, but becomes disappointed because Gabimaru cooked kikatsugan using various ingredients he found on the island. Gabimaru explains that he scouted out the island, but found nothing resembling the elixir of life, though he didn't search the whole island. Yuzuriha asks if Gabimaru knew something about this elixir. The shinobi lies, because he doesn't want to talk about the Nin of Iwagakure. Gabimaru recalls that the vegetation of the island is represented by a mix of familiar and unknown plants. He also believes that the missing participants of previous expeditions turned into flowers and plants. After thinking that Gabimaru had used some of those plants to cook kikatsugan, Yuzuriha throws a piece of it at Shinobi. However, Gabimaru explains that he didn't use them and couldn't find anything like mandarin-looking fruit from the illustration. Santa believes that first of all they should find out who possesses the technology to create such statues, and if the creators live on this mysterious island. Sagiri responds that people couldn't survive a long time on the island because of dangerous monsters and insects. Sagiri recalls that she didn't find any signs of organs within the monsters, and draws attention to their strange appearance. Santa says that the items worn by the monsters are poorly made, so these creatures look like malformed deities in some kind of sick mandala. Gabimaru believes that these monsters are the proof of the existence of the elixir of life that helps him to get a pardon. However, Yuzuriha adds that they possibly already dead, and this island is the afterlife. Santa explains that they should continue studying the monsters, because this is the best way to find the elixir of life. In the evening, Genji tells Sagiri to return back home, because he will assume responsibility of her assigned criminal Gabimaru. He believes that her first duty is to become a wife of the next head of the Yamada clan, and Sagiri is not capable to continue the mission since she has lost the katana, which is a warrior's heart. However, Santa doubts that it will be easy to leave this island, because only one person managed to do it. Meanwhile, Yamada Saemon Tenza tries to escape the island with his assigned criminal Nurugai. Despite the fog, he continues to move forward, because this is the way of warrior. Nurugai says that it's not smart to exhaust himself, and a stubborn samurai should better read the currents instead of using brute force. Though Nurugai is a bit rude to Tenza, he's not offended and takes this as a wisdom of the people named Sanka. Nurugai's grandfather taught him that. Nurugai believes that he would still be executed even if he managed to get back home. A kind samurai promises that he will talk to the shogunate for Nurugai, since he's innocent and deserves to live. Tenza is happy to see a large ship in front of them, but realizes very fast that it's wrecked and surrounded by other ships that didn't manage to leave the island. After detecting some strange activity, Tenza draws his katana, but Nurugai blames him for stupidity, because shining objects and hostility provoke the animals. A massive tentacle attacks and destroys their boat. Trying to find another boat, Tenza fights back from the tentacles. Nurugai believes that it's his punishment, and recalls how he tried to help the people who were lost in the forest, but was tricked by them. These samurai were sent by shogunate to murder his tribe, because the people of this region refused to obey the shogun. In a flashback, Tenza meets Nurugai in prison, and offers him to join the Shinsenkyo expedition, because he believes that Nurugai has been wrongly sentenced. However, Nurugai doubts whether he should live as the last representative of the Sanka bloodline or die to atone for the death of his fellow tribesmen. In the present, Tenza looks at malformed Yamada Asaemon Kisho, who is infected with the poison of island's insects. One of the tentacles tears Kisho apart, and others surround the unlucky couple. Nurugai recalls his murdered grandfather and gives up on escaping. He tells his monitor to forget about him, since his mistake was a reason why his grandfather and fellow tribesmen died. However, Tenza continues protecting Nurugai and fighting off the tentacles. He cannot understand that and asks Nurugai again if he truly wants to die. In a short flashback, Nurugai enjoys a great time with his grandfather. In the present, he tells Tenza that he changed his mind and wishes to return home. A samurai gives one of his swords and points to the boat nearby. They start to fight off the tentacles together and manage to escape the monsters. Tenza and Nurugai discuss the situation and realize that they must find the safe current to leave this dangerous island. Tenza proposes to wash off the blood and notices that his new friend looks like a girl. Nurugai explains that she is actually a girl. Tenza becomes confused and asks her to turn around. However, she falls for his chivalry and offers him to get married when they return home. Anyway, Tenza comes up with a plan to check the island and find the perfect current. He also believes that they should gather allies for the return trip. Meanwhile, Genji tells Sagiri to sail home after dawn, but Santa believes that Gabimaru has changed for the better because of Sagiri, and she can stop him if needed. During the night, Sagiri visits Gabimaru, who keeps watch. Shinobi asks her if she feels well after poisoning by insects, and confesses that she helped him to calm down and still he'll resolve to face any obstacle in his way. Gabimaru also admires how strong she actually is, and encourages her with the words of wisdom from Iwagakure. In the end of the story, Sagiri has a conversation with Genji. He insists that she must leave the island and play her role as a daughter of the Yamada clan. However, Sagiri wants Genji to see her as a samurai and asks him to understand this. Genji mocks her and draws his katana, but Sagiri manages to snatch it from his hands and reminds him about losing the weapon on the battlefield. Experienced samurai becomes furious with her, but Sagiri is shocked to see Rokurota standing behind Genji and tries to warn him. He notices the scary giant and pushes Sagiri out of the way, but Rokurota is fast enough to make a fatal wound to his body. Please enjoy the next episode of Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku. This story begins with Rokurota's flashback. His parents watch how he eats and plays with some stones. In the end of the flashback, a grown Rokurota kills his parents and the people in his village. In the present, Rokurota attacks both samurai, but Genji manages to save Sagiri by pushing her out of the way. However, he takes a hard hit and is sent flying with a fatal wound. Sagiri tries to help Asaemon Genji, but he tells her to run away without him, since it's impossible to survive such serious wound. Rokurota is about to attack Sagiri, but Gabimaru kicks the furious giant away and saves his friend. Sagiri informs fearless and devoted shinobi about Rokurota. She realizes that Yamada Asaemon Aizen is probably dead, because he's no longer with his assigned criminal. Looking into the ruthless eyes of a predator, Gabimaru understands that escape would not be possible and that he will have to eliminate the giant. Gabimaru realizes that his first attack on Rokurota was ineffective and remembers the 9th lesson from Zenin of Iwagakure. He must accurately test out the enemy's abilities in order to figure out how to defeat him. Meanwhile, the giant of Bizen throws a tree at Shinobi, but Gabimaru manages to avoid it and tells Sagiri to leave this place. He sees Yuzuriha sitting on the tree and asks her for help, but beautiful Kunoichi, aka female ninja, refuses him because due to their agreement, he is responsible for fighting. She mocks the annoyed Shinobi by cheering him on. Though Rokurota's swings were fast and destructive, Gabimaru avoids being hit and tries to attack the giant at a distance with ninjutsu called Ninpo Stone Storm. Neither ninjutsu called Unformed Blade nor previous one cannot make any harm to Rokurota. That's why confused shinobi is going to test all his ninjutsu to find out which one is the best suited for such battle. Meanwhile, Genji asks Sagiri to leave him behind, since no treatment can help his recovery, but she stays with him. Diana Asaemon believes that she is a strange person who earlier blustered like a man, but now is acting like a woman. Sagiri answers that the only thing important to her is keeping him alive. Hearing this, Genji understands her true nature. Sagiri embodies the middle way by accepting opposite concepts as a part of herself. Asking to kill Rokurota, Genji gives her his katana and admits that she truly became Yamada Asaemon. Meanwhile, Gabimaru comes to the conclusion that he will have to team up with someone against Rokurota, since close-quarter combat is too dangerous and projectiles are ineffective. Gabimaru dodges another attack by Rokurota and notices him crying after his little finger is cut off. It was Sagiri who explains the method how to cut even the strongest body. Shinobi asks for her assistance and they unite against the giant. Asaemon Senta is pinned by Yuzuriha, but asks her to release him, since he wants to tend Genji's wounds. However, she refuses to do it, since she believed that Asaemon is probably dead, and that Senta is not a type of a person who really cares about others. She notices no monsters around, and says that they should keep an eye on fighting beneath, and retreat once their competitors are dead. On the battlefield, Gabimaru offers Sagiri to split up, because he is going to distract the giant, so she will have time to make Rokurota kneel by cutting his legs. After Gabimaru deflects Rokurota's punch with a kick, Sagiri attacks him from his blind spot, but after recalling Aizen and Genji's faces, she becomes unable to cut off his leg and dodges his attack. The samurai realizes that she must ignore her emotions and remain calm in order to succeed. After avoiding the giant's next attack, Gabimaru notices that his leg is strained, and Sagiri is not able to cut Rokurota's hand, since his movements close the gaps between his bones. She informs Gabimaru that killing Rokurota with a single blow requires him to hunch over, which is a problem they have to solve. Rokurota's stomach rumbles, and the giant starts crying like a child. Gabimaru is stunned by loud noise and takes direct hit from his enemy. He looks badly injured and cannot move. Sagiri rushes to Shinobi and wants to protect him from the incoming danger. She recalls the sea waves, suppresses her emotions and remains calm. After remembering Genji's words about the middle way, she accepts both emotion and reason. It helps her concentrate and deflect the giant's next attacks. Yuzuriha becomes impressed by how Sagiri fights against Rokurota. Santa explains that Sagiri has 12th rank in Tamashi Itoru because of her suitability to lead the Yamada clan, but her fighting skills is much better. Genji notices that she has a lack of experience, but when her hesitation vanishes, she fights even better than first-rate Asaemon. Looking at her, Gabimaru feels how strong Sagiri actually is. Meanwhile, Rokurota loses his balance and Sagiri tries to approach and behead him. However, the fast giant jumps away before Samurai could use her katana. Though Sagiri missed the opportunity, Shinobi has come up with a cunning idea how to make Rokurota bow his head. Gabimaru activates Ninpo Ascetic Blaze and combines it with various ninjutsu, which makes Yuzuriha to escape the area with Santa. Shinobi starts to attack Rokurota with burning stones, but the giant deflects them towards the forest. After hitting Rokurota with a burning tree, Gabimaru stops fighting because he did enough for his plan to work. Running away, Yuzuriha tells her monitor about Gabimaru's plan to use a forest fire for poisoning the giant with the smoke produced by the oil in the wood. After inhaling a lot of smoke, Rokurota falls to his knees, and Sagiri quickly approaches him with katana poised to strike at his neck. Rokurota tries to hit her, but Gabimaru pins down the giant's hand and asks Sagiri to use this chance. She is ready to behead the criminal calmly and fiercely. After ringing from a bell, Rokurota recalls his childhood, when he couldn't satisfy his hunger and nobody wanted to play with him. In the present, Sagiri apologizes for understanding too late that he was a frightened child in a body of ruthless monster. She hopes that he will rest in peace together with his victims. Before running from the flames, Sagiri looks at Genji, who is already dead. Remembering him and Aizen, Sagiri shed a tear, but realizes that she must remain strong. Gabimaru and Sagiri see the monsters, who move toward the flame. After having a conversation with his Asaemon, Gabimaru decides to continue searching for Elixir of Life, because he wants to see his wife as soon as possible. Sagiri realizes that she shouldn't worry about her fellow samurai, but find the elixir and release them from their duties. Hearing this, Gabimaru understands that Sagiri finally has become his ally. After catching up with Yuzuriha and Santa, they see an abandoned village in the distance. Santa wonders if Senin lives there. Senin is a title of the beings who have trained for centuries in the ways of Taoism, granting them powers of regeneration, longevity, and the ability to manipulate the life force energy Tao. In the end of the story, criminal Asa Chobei and his brother Toma fight against the monsters. After killing them, Toma tells his brother a legend about Senin of Shinsenke. King of Bandits senses something and goes in its direction with his younger brother. After a short walk, they find two beautiful women kissing each other on the top of strange building. Please enjoy the next episode of Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku. The story begins with Asa Chobei and his brother Toma, who find two beautiful women kissing each other on the top of a strange building. The blonde-haired woman wonders how the Soshin or monsters allowed the humans to get this far. Chobei is going to guard against these women, since he believes that they are not humans but monsters. The pink-haired woman offers the visitors to come over and fool around with them. However, the blonde woman reprimands her friend for being gross. She shifts into a man and wants to kill unexpected visitors for ruining his day. The brothers become ready to fight back. Looking at the ruined village, Shinobi Gabimaru wonders if the people in this area are either friend or enemy. Gabimaru senses somebody spying on him and chases after a little hooded person. He catches up to the running spy and realizes that the person is a little girl. Gabimaru is attacked by a creature who looks like a tree and tries to protect the child. Shinobi avoids this attack and continues to chase after the girl, because he wants to get more information about the island. His Asaemon Sagiri follows them and keeps watch over her assigned criminal. Meanwhile, a beautiful Kunoichi Yuzuriha takes the opportunity to test her mysterious ninjutsu on a new enemy. Asaemon Santa watches over her, but she removes his glasses and keeps her ability secret. After catching up to the girl, Gabimaru grabs her hand, but this child manages to throw him aside. Sagiri tells her that they mean no harm, and the girl stops running. but tries to punch an approaching samurai. However, Gabimaru blocks her incredibly strong attack that makes him bleed. Shinobi then uses lianas to catch the child and tells her not to complicate things. Hearing this, the girl becomes very frightened and starts crying. Confused Shinobi asks his monitor what he should do and is told to release her. The girl keeps crying, but Sagiri helps her to calm down. After defeating the wooden creature, Yuzuriha approaches her allies. The creature starts to speak and asks them to give the girl back to him. He promises to show them the village and give them the information about the elixir of life. Yuzuriha doesn't trust him and prefers to question the girl. However, after hearing about the bath in the village, the kunoichi agrees to go there. During the walk, Sagiri asks Gabimaru if it's safe to trust the creature. He responds that they need this information, and he will take the creature down if something goes wrong. After arriving, they see an abandoned village, which was different 1000 years ago. The creature guides them to his home, and Gabimaru tries to question him, but Yuzuriha wants to take a bath first. Yuzuriha enjoys a warm bath and says out loud that it's awesome. Annoyed Shinobi asks Santa to do something about her, but Asaemon cannot help with such problem. She offers Gabimaru to join her, but Shinobi refuses to do it. However, Sagiri has to watch over Yuzuriha and gets into the bath, but she cannot resist warm water and forgets about her responsibilities. After receiving wash clothes from the girl, Sagiri thanks her and realizes that she probably can't speak. Santa is very hungry, but Gabimaru warns him not to eat or drink anything until they have more information about this place. Anyway, the creature serves them various fruits and the visitor starts to eat. After having a meal, they start a conversation. The creature introduces himself and the girl. His name is Hoko and hers is Mei. Hoko tells that the real name of the island isn't Shinsenko, but Kotaku. It consists of 3 areas. The shore and woods are Eishu, the village is located in Hojo, and the central area of the island is Horai, where the elixir of life, aka Tan, is kept. Gabimaru wonders if Hoko can prove this story. The host explains that the best proof of his story will be the beings called Tensen. Tensen are beautiful beings with supernatural powers who completely mastered the 5 methods of immortality and control over the island. Hoko tells that nobody stands a chance against such powerful enemy, and that his visitors will die after encounter with them. Gabimaru reacts to Hoko's statement by pointing the sword at him. However, Hoko explains that he doesn't feel hostile towards his visitors. He clarifies that Lord Tensen rule over the island and punish any intruders by turning them into flowers in the Tan pit. Hoko then shows his regeneration skills to prove the existence of elixir, and tells that their fate is up to the gods of Shinsenko. Meanwhile, Chobe and Toma look at the blonde-haired Tensen, who regenerates after a half of his body was cut off. He destroys Chobe's axe, defeats Toma, and throws both of them into the pit. In the evening, Gabimaru is going to wash his wounds and mocks Sagiri for being too relaxed after the bath. She denies it and wonders if Hoko told them the whole truth about Lord Tensen. She also recalls Santa, who connects the concepts Soshin and Horai with Taozen. Anyway, Gabimaru thinks that the riddle of Tensen can be solved later. In the bathhouse, Sagiri and Gabimaru find Mei, who starts to cry after seeing them. However, Shinobi doesn't mind her and wants to rinse off his wounds, explaining that in his village it was customary to bathe with other people regardless of age or gender. Sagiri approaches Mei and sees a scar on her body. She notices that her hair and skin are in bad shape, despite a lot of bath products on the shelves. As recognition for Hoko's hospitality, Asaemon decides to recreate the Edo-style bathhouse and give Mei a proper bath. She also advises Gabimaru to scrub his body and rest while he can. Sagiri generously uses camellia oil cake to wash Mei's hair. The girl admires how she handled this and hugs Sagiri. Meanwhile, Gabimaru recalls his wife Yui, who helped him to take a bath. He isn't embarrassed but doesn't like to do it, because water washes away his battle instincts. Yui pours a bucket of water on his head and advises him to use this time for relaxation, because human life is like a long battle, which includes proper rest. Gabimaru agrees and asks not to cover her scar with hair, because he doesn't mind it. Hearing this, Yui feels that her husband truly loves her. In the present, Gabimaru advises Mei not to be embarrassed about her scar, but Sagiri adds that it's not easy for women. However, Gabimaru doesn't agree with his monitor, since he knows the most beautiful woman with a large scar. Sagiri respects Gabimaru's words, and Mei looks at him with appreciation. Sagiri believes that he begins to change for the better. Meanwhile, Shinobi remembers his wife and realizes that he cannot waste more time for chatting. Please enjoy the next episode of Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku. The story begins with a flashback of young Tenza, who was born in the slums. He tries to survive there, doing robbery and stealing. One day during a walk, Tenza encounters 3 arrogant samurai who offend him. A young thief starts a fight with them, but is stopped by Yamada Asaemon Shion. In the present, Yamada Asaemon Tenza and his assigned criminal Nurugai search for a suitable current to escape the island Shinsenku. After realizing that Nurugai is a woman, he tries to avoid dangerous monsters, and therefore Nurugai wants to marry him even more. Tenza says that before thinking about marriage, they have to leave the island and be very cautious even if it takes longer. She admires his prudence, which will make him a good husband. Their conversation is interrupted by a woman who came out of nowhere. She speaks about many corpses of monsters in the forest and turns into a man, asking if they are behind it. Seeing this, Tenza and Nurugai decide to run away, but the man who is one of the Tensen stops Tenza and inflicts a severe blow to his body. The Tensen says that it's pointless to retreat and attacks Nurugai, but she manages to avoid the damage. He compliments the girl for fast reaction and is going to attack again, but Tenza slashes his eyes. However, the Tensen regenerates himself and is ready to fight. Young Asaemon is quick enough to cut off his head and both hands. It gives them a chance to retreat, but this immortal creature catches up to them in the forest. However, they are saved by Shion, who beheads the chaser and tells them to run. Tenza informs Nurugai that Shion is his master, who taught him to use katana, and despite blindness he uses sounds and smells in order to quickly orient himself. After escaping from the chase, Tenza introduces Shion and is reprimanded by his mentor because of his fast but sloppy movements during the previous fight. However, they are very happy to see each other again. Tenza wonders why his teacher didn't leave the island. Shion explains that after finding a suitable current, he had to retreat for seeking more allies because something he felt there could not be defeated on his own. Tenza wants to join his mentor, but Shion points his katana at Nurugai and asks why his student violates the orders of Yamada clan and protects his assigned criminal. He also adds that he had to execute his criminal Akaginu, who tried to seduce him. Tenza explains that Nurugai is innocent and deserves to have somebody who will take care of her, as much as kind master Shion took care of homeless scoundrel. The teacher is impressed by his students' words and puts his katana away, but warns them that her further violation of the rules will be punished accordingly. Tenza is very surprised because Shion could understand that Nurugai is a girl. His teacher makes a joke that he has a good eye for evaluating people. Nurugai feels safe and calls him a master, but Shion sees no need for this, because he didn't teach her anything. Experienced Asaemon warns both of them to be careful, because of very strong monster who is still not defeated, but Tenza believes that they can run from him again. However, they are suddenly attacked by the Tensen, who says it's not smart to underestimate her. Shion managed to save Tenza and Nurugai, but the Tensen inflicted a serious wound to his throat, trying to take off his head. Young Asaemon starts a fight with his enemy and cannot hit him even once, since his opponent has already learned his attacks. The annoyed Tensen is going to kill Tenza, who realizes that his injured teacher is not able to run now, therefore the monster should be eliminated. Tenza activates his ultimate ability, called Pounding Torrent, but the enemy dodges all his lightning blows and inflicts a terrible damage to Tenza's body. In his flashback, Tenza speaks to Shion in the dojo of Yamada clan. Young student wonders why his teacher took him from the slums. Shion responds that Tenza has a potential to become a great samurai, as well as Sekurabat becomes a beautiful flower. During their training, Tenza decides to quit, because he doesn't accept such strict lifestyle and doesn't see any potential in himself. But Shion has one condition: Tenza have to land one accurate blow on his teacher. However, Tenza doesn't care about it and goes away. While leaving the dojo, he is met by Asaemon Aizen, who invites him to have a walk. They go to the cemetery, where Aizen shows him a grave of Shion's former student, which name was Tessin. Aizen explains that this talented student was as stubborn as Tenza and left his mentor. Shion didn't try to stop him and concentrated on improving his own skills. One day Shion had to execute a criminal, but understood that the convict was Tessin. With a heavy heart, he carried out the execution as Yamada Asaemon. From that day, Shion began to take more care of his students. After telling the story, Aizen wonders if Tenza is going to do what Shion asked for. In the next scene, Tenza asks his teacher to spar with him. Shion notices that his student seriously devoted himself to the trainings. Young man works hard to improve his skills and is grateful to Shion for teaching him. Tenza hopes that he will find somebody he wants to protect. In the present, Tenza realizes that he cannot survive his wounds and decides to sacrifice himself for saving Nurugai and Shion. He attacks the Tensen with his bare hands and crushes his head. However, the monster laughs and hits his opponent with powerful energy coming from his palms. After severe injury, Tenza looks back trying to tell his friends to leave him behind. Nurugai wants to help him, but is stopped by Shion. He can't see his student, but feels what Tenza is unable to say because of damaged throat. In despair, Shion grabs crying Nurugai and runs away. Tenza is happy to see them escaping. He punches the enemy very hard and slashes his legs, but he dies, having a dream of his future, where he becomes a teacher in dojo and is married to Nurugai. Meanwhile, she blames Shion, but Asaemon explains that Tenza wasn't just a student, but brother to him, and saving them was his last wish. Shion promises to revenge at all costs. In the end of the story, young Tenza manages to hit Shion and asks his master to continue teaching him. Talented student found the best teacher. Please enjoy the next episode of Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku. The story begins with Asaemon Senta, who tries to solve plenty of mysteries surrounding the island Shinsenko, but his head is going to explode because of contradictory information. Asaemon Sagiri advises him to have a rest. After having a bath, he falls asleep during his watch. Shinobi Gabimaru recalls his words about good preparation for taking the elixir of life from Tensen, who will guard it. However, he decides to go there immediately, because he has no time for planning. Gabimaru runs through a thick fog to reach the central part of the island and finds a lot of wooden creatures praying to something. After thinking about possible danger, he realizes that finding the elixir is the only option to return home, so therefore Gabimaru continues to go forward. He stops in front of a large gate, which is the entrance to the residence of Tensen, but a strange woman suddenly appears behind him. Shinobi realizes that she's not human and wonders what she is. Instead of explanation, she begins to complain, because her task is to catch humans and to use them for producing of elixir. In the end of this conversation, both of them attack each other. Gabimaru manages to break her arm and neck, but she regenerates very fast. He avoids her next powerful attack and furiously fights back using his ninjutsu called Ninpo Ascetic Blaze. Shinobi believes that she is eliminated and tries to leave. However, the fire didn't kill her, but she shifted into a man. He quickly punches and kicks Gabimaru so hard that poor Shinobi is probably dead, but he manages to survive and even wonders if his enemy is one of Tensen. They continue the fight with rapid exchange of blows. The Tensen punches Gabimaru again, but loses his arm and asks why human became so strong. Shinobi starts to attack his opponent and realizes that his previous strategy doesn't work. He dodges plenty of Tensen's attacks and kicks his enemy in the stomach. Gabimaru understands that such kick has injured his opponent. However, the Tensen turns into woman again and shoots him with an energy coming from her palms. Shinobi tries to block the energy projectiles, but receives a direct hit. Being stunned, he recalls his wife and wants to come back home alive no matter what. Gabimaru fiercely fights back and crushes his enemy, because his attacks were even faster than Tensen's regeneration. However, Shinobi knows that defeated monster is not dead and asks him where is the elixir of life. The Tensen laughs and starts blooming with various flowers. He turns into a large and dangerous creature, but Gabimaru remains calm and decides to fight this monster as he did before. His enemy uses electrical attack to stop Shinobi. Anyway, Gabimaru continues the battle, but another blow pushes him backward. He's too exhausted to activate his ninjutsu and is furiously attacked by monster's tentacles. Gabimaru doesn't believe anymore that such world is real and wakes up after this nightmare. His wife Yui greets him after waking up and offers him a cup of tea. Her husband is glad to see her, but Shinobi also understands that it's his dream, and meanwhile the monster tries to kill him. Gabimaru slashes the tentacle and remembers the 20th lesson of Zenin from Iwagakure. If Shinobi faces death, he must take the enemy with him. Gabimaru instinctively activates his powerful ninjutsu and slightly injures the Tensen. He recalls his wife and apologizes to her. However, Shinobi is saved by mysterious girl Mei, who creates a barrier which helps them to escape. After this fight, the monster turns into old woman. Meanwhile, Senta apologizes to Sagiri for losing Gabimaru in the mist. She forgives him, and their ally Hoko explains that ordinary people cannot orient themselves in such mist. Sagiri decides to search for her assigned criminal, but beautiful Kunoichi Yuzuriha says that it makes no sense to waste any time on finding Gabimaru. Hoko offers his assistance in guiding them to Horai, where Tensen keep the elixir of life. After hearing this, Yuzuriha changes her mind and agrees to go after missing Shinobi. On the way to Horai, Kunoichi starts a conversation with Sagiri about Tensen, but Senta asks them to stay focused. Hoko tells that Tensen are 7 hermits. Meanwhile, Tensen discuss which gender they prefer to be. A Tensen with red flowers on his head likes being a man because of efficient construction of his body, but a pink-haired Tensen definitely likes to be a woman because of her seductive body. A Tensen with violet flowers on his head says that both genders are beautiful in their own way. A blonde-haired Tensen prefers to be male because it suits him better, but his girlfriend reminds him that he is a woman, enjoyed fooling around with her. Their discussion is interrupted by the leader of Tensen, who wants to inform everybody about a new group of intruders. He tells that these humans are very strong because they managed to kill a lot of monsters, aka Soshin. A blonde man blames an old-looking Tensen named Jujin for letting the humans escape and wasting too much tower energy on the fight next to the gate. Annoyed man also attacks his fellow Tensen, but is stopped by the leader, who says that they are family and have to help each other. However, he is in charge for punishment if somebody makes mistakes. He also wonders if the blonde Tensen named Jufa took care of humans in the forest. Jufa explains that 2 humans were thrown in the Tao pit. Anyway, the chief of Tensen asks them not underestimate new opponents, because they managed to kill Moshin. After this conversation, Tensen pour the elixir and drink for the eternity and their master. Meanwhile, Hoko tells a legend about an immortal being who split into 7 different Tensen. Every one of them has a specific role, and they rule the island Shinsenka. Answering the question about his childhood, he explains that 1,000 years ago his village prospered, but the people were affected by mysterious disease and slowly turned into praying trees. Before the death, they gathered next to the Red Gate, so their souls could be invited into Horai. Hoko shows them his daughter and says that Tensen choose who deserves to enter Horai. Sagiri starts to worry about Gabimaru, who finds himself next to Mei on the river shore. He realizes that he fought not against gods, but true monsters, and even the strongest monster can be killed. In the end of the story, Tamiya Gantetsusai approaches Gabimaru and asks if Shinobi is ready to die. Please enjoy the next episode of Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku. This story begins with Ron and Tamiya Gantetsusai, who mocks Shinobi Gabimaru because he looks very rugged and is not able to exchange effective blows. Gabimaru knows that his new opponent is strong enough to make trouble for him, but says that without left hand, Tamiya is not so dangerous. Both warriors are ready to attack each other, but they are stopped by Asaemon Fuchi, who sees no reason to start a fight because it's a waste of time. He explains that first of all they need to question Gabimaru, and if they kill each other, a lot of valuable information will be lost. Gabimaru realizes that he is not capable to fight against 2 powerful enemies in his condition. Therefore, he decides to change his strategy and offers them to work together. Gantetsusai draws his sword and attacks Shinobi who didn't move a muscle. The Ronin understands that Gabimaru doesn't try to fool them, but he's disappointed with such enemy who surrendered without a fight. Despite Gentetsusai's words, Fuchi wonders why Gabimaru would like to join them. Shinobi explains that he wants to get a pardon and see his wife again. For this purpose he needs to obtain the elixir of life, which is kept in the central region of the island, and the powerful immortal beings called Tensen guard it. Fuchi asks Gabimaru if he has any proofs of it, but Gentetsusai suddenly agrees to help Shinobi, because he's eager to meet the Tensen and to test his fighting skills. The Ronin also isn't interested in getting a pardon from the Shogun. He wants to become immortal, but not literally, because it will be boring. He's going to become a legend, and in this way his name will never be forgotten. Though Asaemon is not interested in such goal, he's eager to dissect Tensen as soon as Gentetsusai defeats them. Finally, three warriors made a deal, but Fuchi wonders who is the girl next to Gabimaru. Shinobi is surprised because a couple hours ago she was a child. The Ronin says that girls grow up very fast. Suddenly she calls Gabimaru by his name. He approaches the girl and insistently asks her about the elixir of life. She looks scared, therefore Shinobi apologizes and thanks her for saving him from a powerful monster. Gabimaru politely asks if she also is a Tensen. Meanwhile, Asaemon Senta explains his theory about the island Shinsenko. He believes that this place has a creator, because everything here looks like a grotesque combination of incompatible elements. Asaemon recalls renegade Maki Amuro, who created a new religion to overthrow the shogun. Senta tells that the creator of this island could give them a clue where to find the elixir and how to return home. Asaemon Sagiri is impressed by his knowledge, but Kunoichi Yuzuriha doubts that it's possible to defeat such strong enemy. She also believes that Gabimaru and the girl Mei are probably dead. However, Sagiri is sure that he is a kind of man who can survive the dangers in order to reunite with his family. Meanwhile, Gabimaru asks Mei if she has an idea how to defeat the Tensen. She speaks about Tao, using a few disconnected words. Gentetsusai believes that one of the words tanden means the area below the navel. Fuchi agrees with him, but nobody knows what exactly Tao is. Meanwhile, wooden creature Hoko explains that Tao is a powerful energy that flows through everything in this world and is controlled by Tensen. Yuzuriha cannot understand it, but Senta says that it's very difficult to explain such concept. Hoko tells that Tao grants the Tensen an overpowered body, so they can survive fatal injuries and regenerate. In the next scene, Asaemon Shion deflects an attack by a wrongly convicted girl Nurugai, who wants to become his student. She begs him to train her, but the master of katana martial arts refuses to do it, because he doesn't want to risk young lives anymore. Shion is going to take revenge for his sworn brother Tenza by himself. However, he realizes that Nurugai suffered a lot because of losing loved ones, so he agrees to teach her and reveals his secret. Shion is capable to feel the waves of energy flowing around human bodies, which helps him to determine their size, location and movement. He begins to explain the fundamentals of katana martial arts, but is attacked by one of Sashin. Shion eliminates the monster with 2 quick blows and continues his lesson. He attacks approaching monsters using his feeling of their energy. Asaemon gives some important advices about fighting pose and using her katana, but she have to watch and learn very fast. Nurugai starts to fight against monsters, but Shion realizes that he also needs to improve his skills. Meanwhile, Gabimaru notices plenty of monsters who suddenly have appeared on the shore. Gentetsusai slashes a couple of them with one powerful blow and says that the best way of learning to fight is in the battle. He puts the girl on his shoulder and asks her to teach him how to use the Tao. Shinobi feels that behind these monsters stands very dangerous enemy. In the next scene, 2 Tensen have a conversation about Tao Pit. The Tensen Mudan explains to his lover Tao Fa that humans who were thrown into the pit will never climb out because of the walls which permanently block their escape. Tao Fa compliments Mudan for inventing the most efficient way to create the elixir. However, the king of bandits Aza Chobei manages to get his brother Toma out of the pit. Toma tells his brother that they have to leave the island immediately, but Aza refuses to do it because he's going to kill every Tensen. The king of bandits understood that Tensen's weak point is located on the lower body and informs his brother, who is very impressed by Chobei's assessment skills. Suddenly, a different kind of monster appears next to them and starts a conversation. This creature explains that he is one of Doshi, who are the intelligent and powerful servants of Tenzin. His colleagues try to capture other humans alive. After the offer to go back into the pit, Chobei attacks the Doshi, but he misses and takes a hard punch. However, he manages to rip off the monster's arm. His enemy regenerates and sends plenty of monsters to attack the intruders, but they are killed by Toma very fast. As Chobei continues to fight against his enemy, but without controlling the tower energy, he gets wounded and loses this battle. Please enjoy the next episode of Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku. This story begins with King of Bandits Asa Chobei, who is badly injured after losing his fight. His brother Toma tries to help him, but is surrounded by monsters. Tentacle Doshi is going to throw Chobei into the tower pit again. However, human manages to regenerate after injury, so he attacks his enemy. King of Bandits briefly reprimands his brother because he didn't take care of other monsters, and Toma apologizes for this. Doshi is very surprised that Asa somehow learned to use the tower energy. Chobei believes that such energy will help him to kill the Tenzin. Doshi feels a growing danger from his opponent and tries to eliminate him. They start a fight and the monster breaks Chobei's arms, but the human recovers very fast from this damage. Asa severely punches his enemy and shows that his body becomes stronger because of Tao power. Toma is impressed by Chobei's assessment skills. Doshi wonders if the human isn't afraid of transformation, which will change him forever, but Asa says that monster is not able to understand him. Chobei recalls how he badly hurt himself to prove his strengths and to protect Toma from the bandits. In the present, King of Bandits quickly attacks his opponent. After a successful punch, he realizes that monster's weak point is his navel. Doshi tries to get his enemy with a distant attack, but he misses, because now Chobei is capable to see any movement of Tao energy. Tentacle Doshi is scared and calls his malformed minions. However, Toma informs him that all of them are already dead. Asa attacks the monster again and realizes that he needs to wrap his body in Tao energy to improve the power of his blows. After doing it, he furiously punches his enemy and makes a hole in his chest. He's going to interrogate Doshi in order to find out where exactly the Tenzin live. Chobei asks Toma to help him, but his brother is confused because of Chobei's new appearance. He's very happy to see Asa alive, but he worries about strange scars on his brother's neck. Meanwhile, Ronin Tamiya Gantetsusai fiercely slashes the monsters and speaks to mysterious girl Mei, who cannot properly explain how the Tao energy works. Gantetsusai is surprised to see how skillfully small shinobi Gabimaru fights against large monsters. During the battle, Asaemon Fuchi dissects the corpses of the monsters. He states that such creatures have a different inner structure and weak points. He also wonders who the girl Mei really is. Gabimaru recalls how she used supernatural power to save him from Tenzin. He looks at her with suspicion, which makes her cry. The Ronin continues to eliminate the monsters and tells Shinobi not to stare at Mei, because the girls usually don't like the guys with such attitude. However, Gabimaru doesn't care about it, because he's married. Both warriors furiously kill their enemies, but one of Doshi attacks Gantetsusai and catches Mei. Centipede Doshi explains in very polite manner that the girl is one of Tenzin, who was banished from the palace by their leader Rien. However, Doshi insistently asks Mei to return home together. Gabimaru doubts if it's worth helping the girl, or he should better focus on getting a pardon from the shogun. Mei looks at Shinobi with eyes full of tears. Gabimaru decides to protect the girl, because he doesn't want her being upset anymore, even if it sounds strange to his opponent. Another Doshi appears next to his colleague, and they are going to take Mei with them. Gantetsusai recalls that he lost his left hand because of human-faced butterfly, and wants to kill the butterfly Doshi. Gabimaru calmly assesses the situation, and Fuchi says that he modified Gantetsusai's hand. The Ronin says out loud that his skills as a swordsman became even better after such loss. He tries to attack the enemies, but is stopped by an unexpected blow. Shinobi explains that the monsters are capable to use invisible abilities. Gantetsusai understands it, and he is suddenly attacked by Butterfly Doshi. Meanwhile, Gabimaru tries to block the insects, which are controlled by Centipede Doshi. During the fight, Shinobi accidentally punches the Ronin and is asked to stay out of his way. Their opponent wonders why the human protects the Tenzin. Gabimaru feels that he has changed for the better since they arrived on the island Shinsenku, and says that he owed her one. Shinobi also asks why Mei is so important to them. It turns out that she is essential for trainings and methods of using Tao. There are 5 steps of mastering Tao. The most important one is Bochu Jutsu, which involves a circulation of one partner's yin and another partner's yang. In other words, it's sexual intercourse. The Tenshin is able to manipulate both yin and yang, therefore this creature can change its gender and possesses supernatural powers. However, Doshi can use only yang energy, so they need Mei, who has yin of the best quality, to perform Bochu Jutsu. But because the girl mastered only yin energy, she was banished from Tenshin's residence, having only 2 options, whether join Doshi for their filthy trainings or die. That is why the girl chose the third way and disappeared. After realizing what the monsters are going to do with Mei, Gantsusai wants to kill such disgusting bastards. Gabimaru becomes furious and tells them not to speak about Mei as an object. Both monsters use the insects to increase their powers, and the heroes are ready to fight back. The Ronin starts a fight with Doshi and dodges his attack, but feels dizzy because of inhaling of butterfly scales. Meanwhile, Shinobi is very busy fighting another Doshi, who uses a distant energy attack as well as Tenshin. However, he joins his ally and kills the butterflies with ninjutsu called Ninpo Pyro Bridge. Gabimaru realizes that he needs to use Tao energy against Doshi, but he doesn't know how. Asaemon Fuchi explains that Gabimaru's mind should be strong and weak at the same time, and Mei can assist him with sensing this energy. After realizing that weakness is a part of every living being, his energy increases. Gabimaru dodges every shot of his enemies and approaches them. Now he's able to predict every movement of their energy and uses his new ability to break the armor of Centipede Doshi. He continues the fight and easily defeats his opponents. He feels as strong as Tenshin and asks Centipede Doshi where are his masters. Doshi tells about his allies to distract Shinobi's attention and prepares a new attack. However, Gantetsusai wants to be a hero of the day and runs towards his enemies. Gabimaru reacts very fast and uses ninjutsu again, helping the Ronin to eliminate their opponents. Meanwhile, Asaemon Sagiri, Kunoichi Yuzuriha, Asaemon Senta and wooden creature Hoko enter the residence of Tenshin and are attacked by a new dangerous enemy. Please enjoy the next episode of Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku. This story begins with mysterious Tenshin who attacks his unexpected visitors. He's very impressed that humans managed to reach his residence. Asaemon Sagiri and Senta are confused, but Kunoichi Yuzuriha reacts very fast and tries to run away. However, a new enemy easily catches her, saying that he's not going to kill her now. Sagiri realizes that her new opponent is much stronger than previous ones, but she's not afraid and commands him to let Yuzuriha go. Wooden creature Hoko explains that they deal with peony spirit Mudan. Hoko regrets that he has been defeated and cannot help anymore, but he's happy to reach paradise, where every soul rests in peace. However, the Tenshin tells that his master invented a lie about paradise to control the order on the island Shinsenku and carry out various experiments. Mudan also experimented on humans and turned them into his puppets, called Kyoshi. 2 of them firmly hold Yuzuriha, so the Tenshin sits on another Kyoshi and admits that he likes to play with them. Answering the question about the elixir of life, he says that Tenshin uses strongest humans to produce tan, which is essential for them, but its consumption will turn an ordinary human into a tree. After realizing that the elixir is not on the island, and Gabimaru will not get a pardon from the shogun, Sagiri becomes frustrated. Mudan invites his visitors to join his dreadful game, but notices that Yuzuriha replaced herself with a tree. She throws plenty of kunai at his back and furiously cuts off his head. After landing next to Sagiri, Kunoichi explains that the monster is dead and they have to leave. She also thanks Sagiri for helping her and asks her not to worry about the elixir, because even such problem can be solved if they stay alive. Meanwhile, the Tenshin regenerates his head and sends his minions to eliminate Yuzuriha. However, she managed to dodge their attack. Peony Spirit becomes interested in Yuzuriha and is going to show her how to use Tao energy, or turn her into the best Tan, but Senta steps forward to protect her. It makes Sagiri to believe that her fellow Asaemon has special feelings for Kunoichi. Anyway, the Tensen quickly approaches Sagiri and severely hits her using his energy. He continues showing off, but Santa skillfully cuts off his arms and legs. Yuzuriha is going to use her ninjutsu called Slime String. She explains how her ability works. She drinks a snake poison to produce slime, which she can use in different forms. Kunoichi ties her enemy with strings and almost destroys his body, but he regenerates again. Asaemon Santa slashes his eyes and tells that they can beat him at the right moment. They keep on fighting the Tensen, but he easily dodges every attack. Yuzuriha and Santa don't work as a team, therefore Mudan catches Kunoichi and hits Asaemon with her body. Then he releases her to show how powerful he is. Santa have no idea how to defeat such monster, but Sagiri asks Hoko if he knows Tensen's weak points. It seems that he accepted his punishment and gave up, but his memories about Mei motivate Hoko recalling very important information. Meanwhile, Mudan finishes his conversation with Yuzuriha and is going to kill Santa, but Sagiri quickly attacks the Tensen. Though he can see her energy and predict her movements, she uses clever trick to slash her enemy's tanden, which is the area of the body where Tao energy starts to circulate. However, Mudan regenerates and explains that nobody except of Kunoichi has enough Tao to kill him. Anyway, Sagiri briefly increases her Tao energy and manages to injure her opponent, so he cannot regenerate his wound. The Tensen is impressed by her skills and wonders what kind of Tan she can produce. After realizing that Sagiri is able to see the enemy's aura and to inflict serious damage on him, Santa proposes to attack him together. Mudan becomes invisible and appears next to Sagiri, but she is saved by Yuzuriha. Now she is going to finish her enemy. Anyway, he uses noise attack to push her away and commands his minions to eliminate the Kunoichi, but Santa quickly kills them. The Tensen bites off his hand in order to regenerate it and attacks his opponents from a distance, but Yuzuriha blocks it using Santa as a shield. Sagiri tries to land an accurate blow on her enemy, but he perfectly dodges everything except of Yuzuriha's slime string. Santa also joins this attack and they almost defeat Mudan. Suddenly he flies into the sky, saying that his power is beyond their understanding. Then he turns into a woman and attacks them with her projectiles. After taking cover, Sagiri realizes that she has reached her limits, but Yuzuriha encourages her to continue the fight. The Kunoichi catches the Tensen using her slime string and pulls her down. She turns back into a man, but is attacked and held by Santa, who asks Sagiri to make a final blow. Sagiri furiously slashes the Tensen's tanden and her enemy falls down dead. After realizing that the monster is defeated, Sagiri worries about their biggest problem, namely the missing elixir of life. But Yuzuriha believes that the large amount of gold will help the shogun to forget about the elixir. During rest, Sagiri understands that Santa admires Yuzuriha because of her free spirit. Asaemon explains that his dream was to become an artist, but he joined Yamada clan because his family had insisted on it. He hated to execute people, and this job hardened his heart. But Yuzuriha's lifestyle inspired him to stop lying to himself. Meanwhile, Shinobi Gabimaru, Ronin Gantetsusai, Asaemon Fuchi, and Tensen Mei decide what to do next after defeating the monsters. Gabimaru asks how he can help Mei, but suddenly he faints. In the residence of Tensen, Yuzuriha draws attention to plenty of flowers. Suddenly she is attacked by one of them, but Santa covers her with his body. He has a vision about Yuzuriha, who dances next to him being cruel but free. Santa admires her from the distance and realizes that she is his only love. In the present, Santa is badly infected by Tensen's poison. Sagiri looks scared, but Yuzuriha convinces her to fight the monster again. Mudan looks very confident and attacks his visitors, but his tentacles are cut off by Asaemon Shion. Please enjoy the next episode of Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku. This story begins with powerful monster Mudan, who tries to attack his opponents. But his tentacles are cut off by Asaemon Shion. He tells his student Nurugai to remove the flowers from infected Asaemon Santa. Then she has to retreat together with Asaemon Sagiri and Kunoichi Yuzuriha. Nurugai follows his order and helps Sagiri to stand up. Meanwhile, Shion assesses the energy waves of his enemy and is going to use his own power to kill the monster, who attacks him again, but Asaemon slashes his tentacles. Sagiri asks the wooden creature Hoko how they can help Santa to survive, but he has no idea. However, Yuzuriha uses special salve to stop his bleeding. Looking at her teacher, Nurugai believes that he is strong enough to beat the monster. Shion fiercely attacks Mudan, but his blow is blocked. Asaemon uses his ability called Autumn Rain, destroying enemies' tentacles. Anyway, the Tenshin uses plenty of projectiles in order to eliminate everybody. Shion survives this powerful attack and furiously fights back, knocking his opponent down. Watching this battle, Sagiri realizes that her fellow Asaemon is as strong as Tenshin. Meanwhile, Mudan gets to his feet, being impressed by his enemy's skills. He also explains that even scratches can cause the poisoning. Infected Asaemon quickly removes every flower and says that he's not going to die here, but doubts that killing such opponent will be a simple task. Sagiri decides to join the fight in order to distract the monster. However, Yuzuriha feels exhausted, and even healing embraces of Nurugai didn't work. During the battle, Sagiri gets ready and rushes to help Shion together with Nurugai. After another failed blow, Shion wonders why both girls have joined him and why do they look like this. They are interrupted by Tenshin's attack. Sagiri explains that the slime on their bodies is Yuzuriha's mucus, which will protect them from scratches and infection. According to their plan, Sagiri and Nurugai are going to distract the monster, letting Shion attack him from the back. Mudan tries to eliminate Nurugai, but she easily dodges every blow and fights back. Anyway, her back is unprotected, but Sagiri blocks enemy's attack and continues slashing his tentacles. Shion is very impressed by how she has mastered the technique of using Tao energy, and tells Sagiri that he will follow her plan from then. Asaemon uses another ability called Harvest Shower, but after Tenshin's distant attack he has to dodge the beams and to jump out of the way. However, Shion quickly comes back in order to cut off monster's legs. Mudan keeps on using laser beams, therefore Sagiri grabs Nurugai and runs to a safe place. Shion feels a great sense of guilt, because he has left his student Tenza to die in order to escape together with Nurugai. Asaemon furiously runs to the monster and uses his hatred to destroy every obstacle in his way. Meanwhile, Sagiri and Nurugai manage to pin down the Tenshin's hands, giving Shion an opportunity for final blow. He rubs his katana with energy, but he suddenly doubts that his enemy's weak point is the stomach. Asaemon Senta shouts that it's a flower monster, so Shion have to slash the seed pod. Asaemon lands a powerful blow on his opponent and finally kills him. Dying Mudan confesses that he has never seen such perfect yin-yang and thanks Shion for this. The Tenshin disappears and his blood turns into plenty of flowers. After the battle, Yuzuriha tells that Santa will not survive such wounds. Sagiri asks if Kunoichi could use herself to save him, but she has only one dose left, which she is going to use on Shion. She explains to crying Sagiri that ninja are realists, therefore she will help the stronger one and keeps the rest for herself. However, Yuzuriha tries to comfort Santa and says that he can lean on her at the very end. Asaemon Santa dies, being in arms of the one he truly loved. After the burial, Sagiri promises that she will not let anyone die here. Meanwhile, Shinobi Gabimaru wakes up in the cave. After the fight against the monsters, he was brought here by Ronin Gantetsusai. In the next scene, Sagiri and her allies enter a strange-looking palace, which is a good place to hide and rest for a while. Yuzuriha is going to change and jokingly says that Nurugai looks like a boy. Shion offers Sagiri to have a rest and wants to discuss a new information about Tao energy. He warns his fellow Asaemon not to use too much of this energy, because it might cause physical and mental changes, or even death. After changing her clothes, Kunoichi speaks about the elixir of life, which they need to find for Shogun, but it doesn't exist. Anyway, Sagiri recalls Gabimaru speaking about immortal chief of ninja village Iwagakure, but Yuzuriha believes that such demonstration of power could be an illusion in order to control the villagers by fear. She also adds that the leaders of her village use the same method. Kunoichi doubts that Gabimaru's wife is real, because shinobi don't get married at such young age, and his memories about her could be a lie in order to manipulate him. Meanwhile, Gabimaru cannot remember anything about his wife, but knows that he is the best shinobi in Iwagakure. He also wonders who are people in front of him. A girl Mei asks if he's alright and notices his damaged Tao aura. At night, Shion has a conversation with Sagiri about Gabimaru. She recalls how many friends were lost during 3 days. The girl explains that she didn't fall in love with Shinobi, but she really wants to save his life, because he isn't a bad person. In the meantime, Gabimaru tries to recall his wife, but it's pointless. In the end of the story, Asaemon Shugen receives Shogun's order to prepare a new expedition to the island Shinsenku. This video is based on a brand new supernatural anime, Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku. Release date April 1st, 2023. This dark fantasy anime is created by Studio Mappa and directed by Kaori Makita. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button and don't forget to subscribe for videos like this. Please comment this video and share it with your friends. Thank you very much for watching.